Hi, I'm Jay Monte with TruFan Boxing. I'm joined here with Sean Sullivan of Boxing Digest. Sean, the month of November is upon us. First week, November 6th, it's Showtime at the MGM. Juan Manuel Lopez is fighting Marquez. Basically, the southpaw Lopez, a younger guy. I like him big in this fight. What's your opinion?
I think Lopez is going to win too. I just think it's going to be a struggle for him, given his flaws and his weaknesses, and compared with Marquez's strength, really.
Do you think his style matches up well with for Marquez?
Well, the thing with Marquez you got to look at is his age. He's 35 years old. He's fighting Lopez, who's in his late 20s, and Lopez is a knockout artist. He's going to come out aggressively. He's going to pressure him. And the thing with Marquez is he can do the same thing, and he used to do it really well. Mm-hmm. The question is, can he still do it against a younger guy?
Well, we've seen it. What happened when he fought Diaz, the first fight, especially when he came back after being pressured for the first 4 or 5 rounds. He came back to knock Diaz out. Do you see a similar fight?
I think so. You know, Marquez does have some experience, a lot of experience against southpaws, so that's not really going to be a concern for him against Lopez. If you remember, he fought Tim Austin and Mark Johnson, two of the greatest lower weight fighters of the past 20 years. And in fact, that's in a recent teleconference. That's who Marquez compared Lopez to, and that's a high compliment coming, in that respect.
Yeah, I just think Lopez is the younger, stronger, and he's just a little bit smarter in there, and I think he might even stop Marquez, but that remains to be seen.
Would he stop him? I find hard to believe. Given his grittiness and his toughness, because that's the one thing that Marquez is counting on, is that Lopez has a weak chin, as we've seen. However, he's got a weak chin, but he's got a strong heart, as we saw when he fought Rogers Matagua in that
fight of the year last year.
Fight of the year.
Just wanted to go over the undercard. Allan Green versus Glen Johnson. This was like a former of the Showtime tournament.
Well, it is part of the Showtime tournament.
It's still on.
Yeah, this is. I mean, the Showtime tournament has had a lot of setbacks recently, with people pulling out for various reasons.
Right.
And Allan Green was supposed to fight Mikkel Kessler, was left without an opponent when Kessler pulled out. So Glen Johnson stepped up. However, he's also stepping down in terms of weight. He's going from a light heavyweight to a super middleweight.
Just a question. Allan Green bombed in his last fight against Andre Ward, basically because he came in, was right there for the pickings. Glen Johnson's basically the same type of fighter. Do you see fireworks in his fight?
He's the same type of fighter as...
He's a pressure fighter, Glen Johnson. He comes right at you. So you might see two heads colliding here. It might be a barn burner.
It has to be.
Anything that Glen Johnson's involved in is a barn burner.
Exactly. Well, I mean, the one thing about this fight that's appealing is that it's a winner go home, in a lot of reasons. For one thing, the winner goes to the semifinals of the super middleweight tournament. Right. And on the other hand, if Allan Green doesn't look good again in 2 consecutive fights, in addition to other fights where he hasn't looked good, overall it's not going to look good.
Well, so he doesn't look good against movers. I mean, let's give him a little.
And Glen Johnson, given his age,
right,
he's got one opportunity left to shine, and
he's like a cat. He has 9 lives, Glen Johnson.
He does.
But that's a good fight for the prelim. Just another fight that's coming on the East Coast, November 6th. Zab Judah facing Lucas Matthysse, undefeated. How do you see this fight? Knockout artist, 27-0. How will he stack up against Zab Judah?
Right, the fight's going to be in Newark at the Prudential Center, the same venue where Zab fought his last fight, and where he scored a 3rd-round knockout over Jose Armando Santa Cruz in impressive fashion. And here we have Zab Judah fighting another knockout artist, but a guy who's fought in mainly limited opposition. So we're really going to see him, stepping up in this fight against Zab. Zab has all the experience, but again, he also has a weak chin, just like Lopez, and he's fighting a power puncher.
I'd like to have a weak chin with these guys' records.
And one thing that's interesting about this fight, Zab is really trying to resurrect his career. He's had a few setbacks in the past, and this fight is going to be its eliminator for the number 2 spot in the IBF rankings at junior welterweight, where Zab has recently moved back down to.
Interesting. Just a note, on the undercard, Robert Guerrero, the Ghost, comes east for the first time in his career, fights at the new the Prudential Center against Victor Escobedo. Do you know anything about Escobedo?
Yeah, well, let's just say this. I think Guerrero, his experience is gonna pull him through in this contest. Escobedo had that one really great war 2 fights ago against Michael Katsidis. It was a tremendous fight, but he lost with a very close split decision, and he's also a knockout artist. Right. But I just think that Guerrero, really, he's got the tools and the style. He's got a nice jab. I think that'll be able to pull him through. Against a guy who's a pressure fighter, likes to fight in close, doesn't really have the tools, overall tools as Guerrero does at this point in his career.
Well, his last fight, Guerrero had an impressive victory over Joel Casimir, and was dropped, though, in the last round, the first time in his career.
That was just being careless on his part.
Careless? You think this could happen in this fight?
Oh, no. I mean, well, first of all, Guerrero was fighting one of his closest friends in boxing, in Casimir, so it was a friendly rivalry. And he respected Casimir and all of his accomplishments, and Casimir is getting up there in age as well, and so he just got a little careless and got dropped. I don't think it's going to happen in this case.
Well, Sean, it looks like an exciting night of boxing on November 6th. Is there anything you want to bring up?
Right. There's one final note I'd like to address is this HBO versus Showtime competition we have yet again, where they're putting on shows head-to-head, and I really think that's bad for the fan, that's bad for boxing.
I don't seem to mind. I like the competition, and I like the fact that there are 2 fights on that night, but
well,
hey,
the amount of boxing is great. Having these 2 tremendous cards is a great idea.
Right.
But when the networks compete against like this, I just think it's counterintuitive for the progressive in boxing.
I love it. Okay. I mean, that's your opinion. We disagree on that, but we'll leave it at that. For Sean Sullivan, Boxing Digest, I'm Jay Monte, TruFan Boxing. Be there in the square. Take care.
Want more? Go to inasectv.com to connect with the world of sports. Real-time updates, blog postings, and all the action you can handle in a sec. inasectv.com, connecting you to the world of sports.